I'm Stephen Parker. I'm 64 years old. And I'm finally saying out loud something I spent most of my life pretending wasn't happening, that I let other people's comfort matter more than my own, and now I don't have enough time left to make that choice again. I'm not saying this to be understood. I'm not saying it to be forgiven. I'm saying it because at my age, you start to feel how little room there is for unfinished sentences. You start to hear the clock even when the house is quiet. I sit on the edge of the bed longer than I used to, waiting for my feet to remember how to be feet. The room feels bigger than it needs to be. It's not empty, exactly. Just unoccupied. There's a certain honesty that comes with getting older. Not the proud kind. The tired kind. You stop trying to explain yourself in a flattering way. You stop believing you'll get around to things later. Later becomes a word that doesn't mean much anymore. That's why I'm telling this now. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's final. When I look back, the strange thing is that none of my choices felt wrong at the time. They felt reasonable, thoughtful, even. I was careful. I was considerate. I was the kind of man people described as dependable. That word followed me everywhere. At work. In my family. In my marriage. Dependable. It sounds like a compliment. And for a long time, I wore it like one. In my 20s, I thought being dependable was the same thing as being good. I grew up in a house where keeping the peace mattered more than saying what you meant. My father worked long hours and came home quietly. My mother filled the silence by making sure no one rocked the boat. If something bothered her, she swallowed it. If something bothered me, I learned to do the same. Nobody taught me how to ask for things. They taught me how to wait. So when I moved out, got my first real job, and started building what people call a life, I did it the same way. I paid attention to what made others comfortable. I learned which version of myself caused the least friction. That version stuck. I worked in operations for a manufacturing company. Not glamorous. Not terrible. The kind of job where you show up early, solve problems quietly, and don't ask to be noticed. I was good at it. Or at least good enough that nobody worried when I was around. I married young. Her name was Linda. She was warm in a way I wasn't. Expressive. She liked gatherings. Holidays. People around the table. I liked the order. Predictability. Leaving before things got messy. We balanced each other. That's what I told myself. The truth is, I learned very early how to adjust my edges so they didn't press against hers. If she wanted company, I stayed. If she wanted quiet, I stayed quieter. If she wanted reassurance, I gave it. If I wanted something different, I told myself it wasn't important. That pattern set in fast. I remember the first time I noticed it. We were maybe 3 years into the marriage. She wanted to host Thanksgiving. Big one. Her parents, her siblings, and her cousins, I barely knew. I'd had a rough few months at work. Long days. Short sleep. I wanted nothing more than a quiet weekend. I remember standing in the kitchen, looking at the list she'd made, feeling something tighten in my chest. I didn't say anything. I told myself it was one day. I told myself relationships were about compromise. I told myself this was what adults did. That was the beginning. Not because of Thanksgiving, but because of how easy it was to disappear inside my own reasoning. The years went on like that. Work got busier. Promotions came. More responsibility. More people are relying on me. I learned how to be the man who smoothed things over. The one who stayed late so no one else had to. The one who said yes before anyone asked. I didn't think of it as a sacrifice. I thought of it as maturity. When our daughter was born, everything shifted, and nothing did. I loved her. Deeply. Still do. But even then, I approached fatherhood the same way I approached everything else. Be useful. Be stable. Be there when needed. I worked more after she was born. Not because anyone told me to. Because I believed providing was the most important thing I could do. Linda stayed home at first. Then part-time. Then full-time again. We passed like ships for some weeks. Notes on the counter. Quick updates. Did you feed the dog? Kind of conversation. I remember missing her preschool play. Not because I forgot. Because a supplier issue came up that morning. I told myself I'd make the next one. There was always a next one. Except there wasn't. Not really. The damage didn't come in big moments. It came in small delays. Small decisions. I'll go next time. I'll speak up later. This isn't worth an argument. They need me more than I need this. That sentence ran my life. I didn't realize I was teaching the people around me how to treat me. I didn't realize I was slowly convincing myself that my discomfort was less real than everyone else's. By my 40s, it was automatic. If someone else had a preference, I adjusted. If someone else had a need, I met it. If I had one, I talked myself out of it. Linda started to notice before I did. She'd ask me what I wanted for my birthday. I'd shrug. I'm fine, I'd say. She'd suggest trips. Hobbies. Even therapy at one point. I laughed it off. Told her I didn't need all that. What I didn't say was that I didn't know how to want things anymore. There was a conversation one night. I remember it clearly because I've replayed it more times than I can count. She asked me if I was happy. Not angry. Not accusing. Just tired. I said yes. I didn't mean it. But I didn't know what else to say. We drifted after that. Not in a dramatic way. In a quiet, mutual exhaustion kind of way. She started making decisions without me. Not out of spite. Out of habit. I taught her I'd go along with whatever made things easier. And I did. Our daughter grew up. College. Her own life. She calls. Visits when she can. We're close, but not in the way people imagine closeness. There are things she doesn't know about me. There are things I never showed her. When Linda left, it wasn't explosive. No shouting. No betrayal. Just a conversation at the kitchen table where she said she felt alone even when I was sitting right there. I didn't argue. I nodded. I told her I understood. I told her I wanted her to be happy. She cried. I didn't. After the divorce, people checked in. Friends. Co-workers. Family. They said things like, "You'll be okay," and, "At least it was amicable." I agreed with them. I always did. I bought a smaller place. Learned how to cook for one. Learned how quiet evenings could be. That's when the truth started creeping in. Not all at once. In flashes. Standing in the grocery store, staring at shelves, realizing nobody cared what brand I bought. Sitting on the couch after work, remote in hand, scrolling through channels with no opinion. Hearing my phone buzz and feeling relieved when it wasn't someone needing something. I'd built a life around being needed. When that fell away, I didn't know who I was without it. The turning point came when my older brother died. Heart attack. Sudden. He was 68. We weren't especially close, but he was my brother. We grew up in the same house. Shared the same quiet dinners. At the funeral, people talked about him. His laugh. His temper. His opinions. Stories poured out. Even the frustrating parts were remembered with affection. When it was over, I sat in my car and realized something that stopped me cold. I couldn't imagine anyone talking about me like that. Not because I hadn't lived, but because I hadn't shown myself. I was the man who helped, who supported, who showed up. But I wasn't the man who took up space. I wasn't the man with strong edges or memorable moments. I was comfortable, safe, replaceable. That realization didn't inspire me. It didn't light a fire. It just sat with me. Heavy. unmovable. I tried, for a while, to change. Joined a gym. Took a class. Went on a few dates. But even then, I found myself adjusting. Listening more than speaking. Asking questions I didn't care about. Smiling at the right times. Old habits don't die dramatically. They fade slowly into new rooms. Now, at 64, I see the shape of my life clearly. Not as a tragedy, just as a pattern. There are things I can't fix. Years I can't revisit. Conversations I can't have because the people I'd have them with have moved on. Or died. I can't go back and ask my younger self to speak up at that kitchen table. I can't show my daughter the parts of me I never learned to name. I can't sit across from Linda and tell her I was scared of wanting things because I didn't know how to ask without feeling selfish. That time is gone. What remains is quieter. Mornings. Walks. The sound of the radiator kicking on. The weight of memory. I'm not bitter. That surprises people when I say it. I'm not angry at anyone. I made these choices. Even when I didn't realize I was making them. I just wish I'd understood sooner that comfort is a kind of currency. And when you spend all of yours on other people, you wake up one day with nothing left to buy yourself peace. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I don't have instructions for you. I don't believe in that kind of talking. I only know what I wish I'd known. I wish I'd known that being easy to live with can slowly erase you. That being agreeable can become a hiding place. That you don't get extra time for being polite. I wish I'd known that saying, "I'm fine," too many times teaches people to stop asking. And I wish I'd known that wanting something doesn't make you difficult. It makes you present. I don't have many years left. I don't say that dramatically. It's just arithmetic. I plan small now. I enjoy simple things. I try, in my own late way, to notice myself. Sometimes I sit with the discomfort instead of pushing it away. Sometimes I let myself choose the movie. Or the meal. Or the silence. It's not redemption. It's just honesty. If this meant something to you, if any part of it sounded familiar, I'm glad you listened. Not because it changes anything for me, but maybe it helps you notice the shape of your own days while there's still room to adjust them. As for me, I'll keep waking up early. Sitting on the edge of the bed. Listening to my body complain, and my mind wanders. I'll keep telling the truth when I can. Because at this point, that's the only comfort I have left. And for now, it's enough.